I did something last night I haven't done in years. I prayed, not the casual, please let this launch succeed kind of prayer, real prayer, the kind where you're on your knees at 3 o'clock a.m. exhausted, broken, asking questions you're afraid to hear the answers to, and I didn't pray about rockets or companies or technology. I prayed about you, specifically you, the person listening to this right now. I asked God to tell me about you, and what I heard shook me to my core. I know how that sounds, Elon Musk talking about praying and hearing from God, but stay with me because what I heard about you, about your life, your struggles, your purpose, it's something you need to hear, something I was told to share with you specifically. But before I tell you what God said about you, and I promise this will change how you see yourself forever, I need you to do something. If you've ever felt invisible, like your life doesn't matter, like you're just going through the motions while other people are out there changing the world, drop a comment and say, I'm here, because what I'm about to share isn't random. You were meant to hear this right now, today, this moment. Let me take you back to where this started. 3 weeks ago, I was sitting in my office at SpaceX at 2 a.m., doing what I always do, working, solving problems, pushing humanity forward. My phone rang, unknown number. I almost didn't answer. It was a woman I didn't know. Her voice was shaking. She told me her son had just died, 23 years old, engineering student, had sent me dozens of emails over the years with ideas, questions, dreams about working at SpaceX someday. I'd never responded to a single one. He had taken his own life 3 days earlier. Left a note saying he felt like his life didn't matter, like he was too small to make a difference, like people like me were changing everything and people like him were just taking up space. She wasn't calling to blame me. She was calling because in his final note he'd asked one question: does my life matter if I never build a rocket? Or change the world? I sat there with no answer. None. This brilliant young man had ended his life feeling meaningless, and I, someone who supposedly thinks about humanity's future constantly, had nothing to say. After we hung up, I sat in my office for hours, not working, just thinking, and for the first time in years, I felt completely lost. How many people feel that way? How many people watch what I'm building and feel smaller instead of inspired? That question haunted me for weeks, kept me up at night, made me question everything. So last night at 3 o'clock a.m., exhausted and desperate for answers, I did something I haven't done since I was a kid. I got on my knees and I prayed. I'm not a religious person. I've spent my life in science, in engineering, in things that can be measured and proven. But I was desperate to understand. So I asked, not for success or money or help with my companies. I asked about you. Tell me about the people who are listening. I said out loud, tell me about the person who will hear this. Tell me about their life. Tell me what they need to hear. Show me what I'm supposed to tell them. And then something happened. I don't know how to explain it without sounding crazy. But I heard something, not with my ears, with something deeper, a knowing that appeared in my mind fully formed. And here's what I heard. Here's what God told me specifically about you, the person listening to this right now. I know them. I know them better than they know themselves. Let me tell you about them. Let me tell you what I see. I see someone who's been trying so hard. Someone who wakes up every day and fights battles that no one else sees. Someone who keeps going even when they're exhausted, even when they feel like giving up, even when they're not sure why they're fighting anymore. I see someone who compares themselves to others constantly, who watches people like you building empires and feel small, who looks at other people's success and wonders what's wrong with them, why they can't achieve that level, why they're stuck where they are. I see someone who's been hurt deeply by people who were supposed to love them, by circumstances they couldn't control, by a world that feels harder than it should be. Someone who's built walls to protect themselves and now feels isolated behind them. I see someone who's doubting their purpose, who wakes up and goes through the motions, but isn't sure why, who feels like they're meant for something more, but can't figure out what, who's afraid they're wasting their life, but doesn't know how to change it. I see someone who feels invisible, who does things no one notices, who tries hard at things no one celebrates, who gives and feels like no one sees them, like they don't matter, like they could disappear and the world would just keep turning. But here's what else I see. Here's what they don't see about themselves. I see someone stronger than they realize. Every day they get up and keep going. That's not weakness. That's not ordinary. That's extraordinary courage that most people don't have. They think they're barely surviving, but I see them as warriors fighting battles that would destroy others. I see their small acts of kindness that ripple out into the world in ways they'll never understand. The moment they chose patience over anger last week that changed someone's entire trajectory. The time they smiled at a stranger who was contemplating ending everything. They saved a life without even knowing it. And here's what matters most. They don't need to be like you, Elon. They don't need to build rockets or change industries. Their purpose is different, equally important but different. Stop teaching people that significance comes from scale. Show them that a single act of authentic love can shift the universe just as much as any technology. Tell them their struggles aren't mistakes. Their assignments. The pain they've endured is preparing them for something they can't see yet. Every battle they've survived has made them capable of holding wisdom that comfort could never teach them. Most importantly, tell them to stop waiting. They keep thinking, I'll matter when I achieve this, or I'll be worthy when I fix that. But they already matter right now, this second. Not because of potential, because of existence itself. Now tell them, I sat there in my office, tears streaming down my face, and I realized something that shook me to my core. I've been doing this all wrong. For years, I've been obsessed with making humanity multiplanetary, with solving climate change, with advancing AI safely, and those things matter. But in my pursuit of saving humanity as a concept, I completely forgot about humans as individuals. That kid who died, the engineering student who sent me all those emails, he didn't need me to colonize Mars. He needed me to see him to respond, to acknowledge that his existence mattered beyond what he could build or achieve. And listening to what God said about you, about the person hearing this right now, I realized how many people I've made feel smaller instead of bigger. How many people look at what I am doing and think I'll never matter like that instead of realizing they already matter infinitely. Here's what I understand now. I've been measuring worth with the wrong instruments. I measure impact by reach, how many people, how much revenue, how big the change. But God measures impact by depth, by authenticity, by love, by the courage it takes to keep showing up when life is hard. And by that measurement, the person listening to this right now might be accomplishing more in a single day than I accomplish in a year, because they are choosing to stay kind when everything in them wants to be cruel. They're choosing to keep trying when quitting would be easier. They're choosing to love when closing off would be safer. That's not ordinary. That's heroic. And I've been too blind to see it. I think about all the people working in my companies. The engineers, yes, but also the people cleaning the facilities at night, the security guards, the cafeteria workers. I walk past them every day, and I'm so focused on the mission, on the big picture, on saving humanity that I forget to see the humans right in front of me. Each one of them has a story as complex as mine. Each one is fighting battles I know nothing about. Each one matters just as much as I do, not because of what they build, but because they exist. Because consciousness itself is sacred. And if I can't see that, if I can't honor that, then what's the point of saving humanity? I'd just be saving a concept while missing the actual people. So here's what I'm committing to, and I'm saying this publicly so I'm accountable. I'm going to live differently, not working less. The mission still matters. But working with different awareness, seeing people instead of just resources, recognizing sacred existence instead of just productivity, and I'm asking you to do something too, something that might be harder than anything I've ever asked an audience to do. I want you to stop trying to be like me, stop trying to be extraordinary. Stop measuring your worth by achievement or success or impact at scale. Instead, I want you to do something much more difficult. I want you to be fully, completely, unapologetically yourself, because that's what the world actually needs. Not more people trying to build rockets, not more people trying to be the next Elon Musk or Steve Jobs or whoever. The world needs you, specifically you with your exact combination of experiences and pain and wisdom and weirdness. Your purpose isn't to be like anyone else. Your purpose is to be so authentically yourself that you give other people permission to be themselves too. That's revolutionary. That's world-changing. And it's something only you can do. I called that woman back yesterday, the mother whose son died. I told her everything I just told you. And then I asked her about her son, not about his achievements or his grades or his ambitions, about who he was, what made him laugh, what kindness he showed, the small moments that made him irreplaceable. She talked for 2 hours, and by the end, both of us were crying, but differently. Not from grief alone, from recognition, from finally seeing that his life mattered completely, exactly as it was, without needing to accomplish anything else. I'm starting a foundation in his name, not a scholarship, for the best engineers, a fund for people who feel invisible, for people who are quietly doing the hard work of staying human in a world that rewards hustle over heart, for people who choose kindness when everything rewards cruelty, because those people are changing the world just as much as I am, maybe more, and it's time I acknowledge that. It's time we all acknowledge that. So here's my challenge to you, and I mean this with everything in me. Live today like you matter, not like you'll matter someday. When you achieve something, like you matter right now, because you do. Make one choice today based on who you actually are instead of who you think you should be. Say one true thing you've been afraid to say. Do one small act of kindness that no one will notice or celebrate. Choose authenticity over performance. Choose presence over productivity. Choose being over doing. That's enough. That's everything. That's how you change the world. Not by being like me, but by being so completely yourself that reality shifts around you. You know what I realized sitting in that office at 3 o'clock a.m.? I've been chasing immortality through achievement, through building things that will outlast me, through creating technologies that people will remember centuries from now. But that's not immortality. That's ego disguised as legacy. Real immortality is in the moments. It's in the way that mother's son made his kindergarten teacher feel seen. It's in the way you made someone smile yesterday without even realizing it. It is in the tiny acts of courage that ripple forward through time in ways we can never track or measure. I have children and I've spent so much time building their future, literally trying to make humanity multiplanetary so they'll have options so our species will survive that I've missed their present. I've missed bedtime stories because I was in meetings about Mars colonization. I've missed soccer games because I was solving engineering problems. I was so focused on giving them a future that I wasn't giving them a father, and the tragic irony is that none of my achievements will matter to them nearly as much as my presence would have. They won't remember the rockets I launched. They'll remember whether I was there, whether I listened, whether I saw them. That's what God was telling me about you. You don't need to launch rockets. You need to be present. You need to show up fully in your actual life instead of waiting for some future version of yourself to arrive before you start living. I've met presidents and prime ministers and the most powerful people on earth, and you know what I've learned? They're all just people all struggling with the same fundamental questions, all wondering if they matter, all afraid of being forgotten, all desperate to know that their existence meant something. And the ones who seem most at peace aren't the ones who achieve the most. They're the ones who love the most, who connected the most, who are most authentically themselves regardless of what anyone thought. I'm not saying achievement doesn't matter. I'm saying it only matters if it comes from authenticity rather than from trying to prove something. Build things because you can't not build them. Create because creation itself is your nature. Achieve because achievement is your expression of being alive, but don't do any of it to become worthy. You're already worthy. Here's what I'm going to do differently starting today. And I'm telling you this not because I have it figured out, but because I need the accountability of saying it publicly. I'm going to look people in the eye, really look, not while thinking about the next meeting or the next problem. I am going to practice seeing the sacred in every person I encounter, from the CEO to the janitor, because they are all equally miraculous. I am going to respond to emails from kids who write to me with dreams because that kid who died sent me dozens of messages and I never responded once, and my silence told him his dreams didn't matter. I can't undo that, but I can make sure it doesn't happen again. I'm going to schedule time with my children that's actually sacred. No phones, no emergencies that pull me away, just presence, just being their father instead of being Elon Musk who happens to have children. I'm going to create space in my companies for people to be human, not just productive, human, to struggle, to have bad days, to need help, to be imperfect and still valuable. Because productivity without humanity is just sophisticated slavery, and I'm going to stop pretending I have all the answers. I don't. I'm figuring this out as I go, just like everyone else. I'm broken in ways I'm only beginning to understand. I'm learning things I should have learned decades ago, and that's okay. That's being human. The person listening to this right now, you're ahead of me in ways you don't realize. You might not have billions of dollars or companies that changed industries, but if you've chosen kindness when cruelty was easier, if you've stayed present with someone in pain instead of running away, if you've been honest about your struggles instead of pretending to be perfect, then you understand things about being human that I'm only now learning. So teach me, teach all of us. Show us what it looks like to be authentically yourself in a world that is constantly telling you to be someone else. Show us what courage looks like when it's not celebrated. Show us what strength looks like when it's quiet instead of loud, because that's what the world needs. Not more people trying to be extraordinary. More people willing to be ordinarily, beautifully, courageously human. More people who understand that existence itself is the miracle, and everything else is just decoration. You matter. Not because of what you do, because of what you are. And I'm sorry it took me this long to understand that, but I'm grateful I understand it now. God asked me to tell you this. I'm just the messenger, but the message is real and it's specifically for you. You are seen, you are known, you are loved exactly as you are right now. Believe it because it's the truth. I sat there in my office, tears streaming down my face, overwhelmed by the weight of what I just heard. This wasn't a generic message. This was specifically about you, the person listening to this right now. I don't know your name. I don't know your story. I don't know what you're struggling with or what brought you to this moment. But apparently I don't need to know because God knows. And he wanted me to tell you everything I just shared. You matter. Not because of what you achieve, not because of how successful you become, not because you're like me or like anyone else. You matter because you exist, because you're here, because you're you. Share this with someone who needs to hear it, not someone who needs to. Be motivated to work harder. Someone who needs permission to be exactly who they are. Someone who's been trying to be extraordinary and needs to know that being human is already miraculous, and drop a comment telling me, what's one way you've been trying to be someone you're not? What would it look like to just be yourself instead?